Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Concrete Growth Podcast, where we break down concrete industry secrets, stories, tips, and tricks. Today we got Vince, owner of VIP Concrete Masonry out of North Georgia. Vince is doing a little bit of everything from like stamped concrete, custom masonry, retaining walls, fire pits, landscape remodels. Vince, thanks so much for being here, man.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Pretty cool.
Yeah, so before we kind of get into it here, Vince, for any of our audience that doesn't know you, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, my name's Vince Gianni. I pour concrete. I've been pouring concrete since I was a little kid. I learned from my grandpa, my dad, my uncles, all their friends. I've been breathing concrete since, I could pick up a tool or move a brick. So, I didn't pick it, it picked me. And so that's what
Yeah,
I've been doing my whole life. I love it. And, there was a point where I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but still fell back into it because we're good at it. And I just love doing it, love meeting new people, meeting new clients, um, and, just doing business and networking and, seeing the final product of all of our work. It's just really exciting thing to do.
definitely. Yeah, so I know you said three generations of concrete. Who started it? So it was your grandfather then, or?
Yeah, yeah. So my grandfather, I think late 70s. I was actually just talking with my dad about it yesterday. I think he was telling me around 79 he got into concrete and building
Oh,
bridges in Syracuse, New York, which is where I'm from, and that's where I learned. And from there, he just was pouring concrete, I guess, knew a bunch of guys, started his own companies, taught every man in my family, all their friends growing up, from his oldest son to his youngest son, and then me. We all just learned from the ground up, you know.
yep. Yeah,
So
that's awesome. Yeah, before we kind of get into like the inner workings of the business, I am curious what kind of propelled the move down to Georgia. I know you said it started in Syracuse.
yeah, so I moved to Georgia in 2016. I was right. It was when I graduated high school,
Hmm.
and my wife's family lived down here. They moved. I want to say like 4 years before that. And we were just boyfriend girlfriend last year of high school, long distance. And when I got out, I worked the rest of the summer, and I really wanted to be with her. And so summer season's over in New York, pouring concrete. So I moved down south. Fresh out of high school, wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I moved in with them. And thank God for them and them letting me do that. That changed the whole trajectory of my life. And that's it gave me the motivation to start my business and everything. It just was a good move. And and then we got married. So I moved for a girl and then started my whole life.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So if I'm seeing this correct, you guys started in 2018, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I started in 2018.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so kind of taking it back to the beginning of when you started in 2018, like what did those kind of early days look like? I know
Oh man,
a lot of
they
the
were the
guys that I
best.
talked to.
They were
Yeah.
they were crazy. So I was 19 years old. I didn't know anybody. I'm not from here. Didn't go to school here or anything like that. So my connections were extremely limited. So I was putting out ads on Craigslist. I was doing Thumbtack and that, and for the first couple of weeks, it was just the process of meeting clients, learning how to bid, and finally, winning my first job. And I didn't have a truck. I didn't have any employees. I didn't have anybody at all. And I had a 1999 Acura TL with like 200,000 miles on it. And when I went to go do my first job, and I did this for the first like 4 or 5 months, I would put all my 2x4s on the roof, put my
Oh my
wheelbarrows
God.
on top of that. I'd strap them all down through my windows, drop my back seat down, put my bow float poles, my bow float, pins, tools, whatever I could fit that I would need for the job. I had it, it was in the trunk of that Acura. And I went and I did jobs by myself. I did everything by hand. I didn't know about a buggy. I didn't really ever use a Bobcat that much growing up, maybe a couple times. So I dug everything out by hand. I wheeled all the material by hand where it needed to go. I would, pour by myself, wheel it from the front to the back. And at that time, I was probably doing like at most like 5 yard pours, wheeling them by myself. But I mean, 95 degrees in the middle of Georgia summer, 5 yards by yourself, wheeling 200 feet. That's a lot, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
still getting it done. So that was awesome. And then, I'd find a couple kids here and there to come and help me. And, after about 2 years, I got my project manager, my best friend, who was like a brother to me. And he started working with my family when we were 13. So he knows everything I know.
Hmm.
And got him when I was like 2.5, going on 3 years in. And that was a game changer. We could handle more, he could manage more. I was able to step aside a little bit more and sell and grow the crew. So, I mean, that was a huge blessing. And then it's just been, steady growth since then. And we've had some bad seasons too, but,
Yeah.
mostly growth.
I'm curious, was there a point when was it maybe when you brought on your friend that there was kind of just like a moment of like, all right, this could probably work. Like I can kind of make this happen, or was there just self-belief throughout like the
There
whole
was
thing?
never a
Like,
doubt. There was never a doubt. I watched my family do it and I knew how to do it, run a business and whatnot. I started in my senior year of high school. I was running my dad's business. So like I would go to school for half the day and like I had an arrangement with, the principals and whatever at the school that I would leave and, go run the business. And as long as I was keeping up with my grades and everything was good, then I could do whatever I had to do and nobody cared. So I knew the fundamentals right off the bat. I knew it was something that I could do, and we were just raised that way. We can do anything we put our mind to. Me and my family worked really hard alongside each other our whole lives, and so you just grow this resilience, and concrete gives that to you mentally. You just start to develop a resilience to anything because there's so many problems that can happen, and we're required to act so fast and think on our feet constantly that it's just like anything that's a problem, it's minor. We can handle it. It's not a big deal. So never once didn't believe that we weren't going to make it at
yeah,
all. It was just
definitely.
steady growth, and it was God, man. God had our back, and He's just been blessing us 100% of the way through.
For sure. Yeah. And then kind of going back to the beginning, how much of your background and the way you were raised do you think like impacted the way you run your business now, and then also how you were able to kind of grow it to the scale it is now?
Yeah, so I mean, the way that we were raised with it was definitely the like procedures and practices from New York to Georgia. I had to get, you know, acclimated to, I had to warm up to. So I did work for another company here for like a year and a half altogether to try to get used to the way that they do things. Because I can remember quoting jobs where, in New York, we have to take out 6 inches of soil, put down gravel, compact it, and then we're pouring 5.5 inch, 4,000 PSI driveways. And so that's in my mind what needed to be done in Georgia. And
Yeah.
that's just not the case. It's not really how it's getting done. And so I was overbidding, like it's mostly driveways. I would overbid a lot because that was my thought process. Um, I still do that. I still add gravel. I still take out a little bit of dirt, but I don't do it in excess like I would in New York because the ground's much harder here. The frost line is like 6 inches, so you don't really have to worry about a lot of heaving or anything like that. So, just things in the procedure that were very different that I had to kind of relearn. But as far as, what we learned growing up that took us as far in business was just really, it wasn't anything in particular about running a business other than to, take care of your employees, do what you say you're going to do, respect people's homes, respect people's property, and just, do do good, honorable, ethical business. Like other than that, there's really not much else to it.
Yeah.
It's just go and do your best every day and, you know, try not to take no for an answer,
Yeah.
get it done.
Yeah.
Always try to get it done. And if you
Definitely.
can't do something, figure out a way to do it. Or if you don't know how, find somebody that does, be resourceful, be the
Hmm.
guy that people come to for answers and
Yeah.
be able to have, answers to problems.
Definitely. Yeah, and then kind of on the team side of things, I know you said you brought on your one of your closer friends
Mhm.
to kind of oversee the operations. How did you kind of go about like the team building kind of like routes on bringing on people that you trust and making sure people are doing good work?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good question. I mean, so after him, we started getting better prospects, it seemed like. Um, and I'm not really sure how that happened. I think it was just natural, organic. We started training people, like guys that didn't know anything. And I think honestly, that's been our best solution to hiring new people is just finding guys that don't know anything that want to learn, because then we can teach them the way that we were taught. So that way we all flow and work on the same system. It's
Hmm.
it's harder, like the longer guys have been doing something a certain way, it's harder to kind of pull them back into your system of doing things. So it's just easier to find newer guys, but it's harder in that aspect because they can't really do that much and they don't have the experience. So you got to find like a middle ground, but it's also concrete's a young man's game. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's I want guys that can move fast and think quick, but it's getting a little chilly in here.
no worries.
We I would say we cycle through guys a lot. We definitely cycle through a lot of people, but most of the time when we hire people, we hire them to stay. And a lot of our guys, if they're good ones, they'll be there for 2 years or longer. And our crews are usually no bigger than like 4 or 5 guys at a time, and then subcontract here and there. Some things, most of all of our concrete work, we keep in house. It's mostly some like bigger masonry things that we'll sub out.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm also kind of curious. I know you said like the goal is to keep guys staying as long as possible. I know some of the guys I talk to, or a lot of them, just deal with the problems with seasonality, and then guys just need to go find work in the winter and colder months because you just can't pour. Um,
Yeah,
I know Georgia's like a little less of that comparatively to like New York or something.
yeah.
But I was wondering how you kind of are dealing with that, or if you have to deal with it at all.
I mean, we don't deal with it to nearly the extent of like, the states in the north, but
Yeah.
there are periods where it's too cold to pour, where maybe there's like a week or two where I'm like, yeah, we're definitely not pouring. And then, once it gets up above that freezing point, you play it by ear based on the temperatures that you're gonna have at night.
Yep.
But generally, no, we don't have to deal with that. And if we do have weeks like that, we'll usually just try to stick to our masonry work, tent everything in, heat it up. You can work in more controlled areas and keep everything hotter and, moving along. So that way you're not losing time. So we're not losing guys seasonally, really. It's a lot of the time where we've lost all of our good guys is when they've wanted to switch careers, or they'll have different opportunities that, we unfortunately can't provide, like benefits and stuff like that,
Yep.
which
Gotcha.
we're hoping to be able to provide. I mean, really, I'm in it for the long game. I don't
Yeah,
plan on.
I was just gonna ask you like what your kind of plans for scaling and bringing on more guys are and how you want to kind of go about that or
Well, I mean, that's kind of the tricky part, right? Because that's where we're at, and that's what we're trying to figure out now is, what's the best way to grow? Because growing up, that was about where we stopped, right? Like we didn't get any bigger than, like a backyard crew of like 5 or 6 guys, and we did good doing that, and we'll always do good doing that. Um, it's the constant like cat and mouse. You need the work to hire the guys, but you need the guys to be able to do the work if you go to sell it. So, it's just that cat and mouse, I feel like, and
yeah.
going back from that.
Definitely. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I was just gonna touch on that topic as well of kind of getting work. I know you said when you first started, you were putting some like Craigslist ads out there and probably doing a
Yeah.
good fair share of like word of mouth referrals. I'm curious to see like what your approaches or how they've kind of changed over the time, or if you've kind of just
Yeah.
doubled down on those.
Yeah, they definitely have changed over time. So, I mean, like the Craigslist stuff was like before I even, had a company name or anything like that. It was just kind of testing the waters. And that worked, a little bit. It got me something, got my foot in the door with a little bit. I mainly use Thumbtack
Gotcha.
for years. My father-in-law is also a contractor here. He does tile work and interior renovations, and they do great, great work as well. So he got me a few things early on. And then, Johns Creek, Alpharetta, Milton, Cumming, these North Metro areas are all really reliant on word of mouth. And there's
Yep.
just such huge populations here, huge neighborhoods. So like the opportunity is endless, really. You just got to go pushing for it, and invest into getting in front of people. But the best way I did that was Thumbtack for years and years. I used Angie's here and there. I never liked Angie's. Angie had this
Yeah.
Angie ads recently that I
Yep.
thought were pretty good, where you give them a flat fee for X amount of leads a month. So I think it was like 28 leads for like $400. So I thought that was pretty fair. But I would say over the last 18 months or so, we haven't done any advertising at all besides, getting Google reviews, posting photos on Google and Facebook, and word of mouth. And we've been doing
Yep.
fantastic. We'll
Yeah,
probably open
definitely.
up the Thumbtack again this end of the spring, going into the summer, just to make sure that I'm really looking to be double booked this summer if I
Yep.
can, just so we can have two crews working at a time, because that would be our next best step towards growth, I
For
feel.
sure. Yeah, yeah. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about Angie and Thumbtack. It's either like super like this is great or it's just like oh this was horrible. I like wasted so
I
much money on
always
them.
loved Thumbtack because it was way more affordable, back,
Yeah.
10 years ago. It was way more affordable. And even, before that, I remember my dad was paying like $5 a lead,
Yep.
and at the most I was paying like 15, $25 a lead, 4 or 5 years after that. And it was just always reasonable, and you were always getting your return on investment. I
Yeah.
never really made a whole lot of claims to get money back or garbage leads or whatever, because I just didn't care. It was always worth the investment. If there was something that I really wanted to get my compensation back for, they were always more than willing to do it. So it was just a good relationship. I had good reviews on there, good ratings, never had any problems with them. So it was just a really good platform for me. I think it just got too expensive. They got in the Angie, leads kind
Yeah.
of price range, and it was just like, all right, this isn't working anymore.
Yeah.
But you do get great projects from them, great clients. There's just a lot of clutter.
For
And I
sure.
do
Yeah.
definitely like word of mouth better, because you're dealing with the same type of clients, people that are looking for, quality work, a contractor they can trust, somebody that's going to stand behind what they do. So
Yep.
you're always going to get better clients that way,
Yeah.
I think. But
Of
I've had phenomenal people come from Thumbtack also, and all of them,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
and I find that the majority, I would say 95% of all the people that we work with are fantastic. I mean, there's very, very little people that we have an unreasonable issue with. I mean, it's hard for me to even come up with an example.
Yeah. So there's not really a lot of people that you'll kind of like pick and choose and sift through.
No, I try
Like
not to sift. I try to treat everybody exactly the same. I don't care what your house looks like, what kind of car you drive, what you're wearing. It literally does not matter to me. All I want to do is get paid for the work that I do, and do it well, and hope that you would, refer us. Again, that's the only thing I
yeah.
care about. I just care about fairness across the
Yeah.
board.
Definitely. Yeah, and then kind of on the topic of like the services you provide, do you have like a favorite like kind of project to do? I know you do quite like an array of projects like stamp
Yeah,
concrete, like outdoor living things as well. Like
I like them all. I mean, the bigger that we've got, and the more I like the bigger projects, because it's more fun, it's more exciting, it's more
yeah,
logistically challenging, and there's just more for me to do on the back end that makes it more interesting. I like projects where we can go in and change the landscape. We're carving hills out, putting in walls, building walls up to make land, level and flat, adding drainage to people's properties, adding nice outdoor living spaces with patios. Those are just, I think they're simple. I think they're fun to do. I think the final product is a great before and after. People are always excited when we're done. I mean, it's just always such a fantastic time working with those types of projects. I would say the projects that I like the least are probably driveways.
really?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Yeah, no, it is. It is surprising. I think that's for a couple reasons. I mean, I love it because I like pouring concrete and everything. It's not the actual work itself. I think it's the getting to the work. Like the the quoting phase of that because
Yeah.
the competition here is so big for driveways that, you know, the guys, I feel like there's a lot of other companies that are really underbidding them for the cost of, you know, material and the time to do things and do them the right way.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned before with the driveways, you know, I always add a good layer of gravel. I compact it. I use commercial grade 8 gauge 8 by 20 sheets when we do driveways. You know, we just try to beef them up as best as we possibly can for the client. I think they deserve that, and that's what they should be paying for. And I'd rather not do anything aside from that.
Hmm.
Um, and you know, I just think the competition is really, really fierce, which is totally okay. That's what we
Yeah.
want. We want good competition, but a lot of the times they're quoting a couple dollars under or even more a
Oh, wow.
foot than I feel that they should be, and I'm just not gonna play that game. You know, we provide a service. I know what it costs us to do it, and when we do driveways, if we're gonna do a driveway that's like 2,000 square feet or above, I'll take 4 or 5 days to do it. And I don't even care because I want that driveway to be perfect when I'm done. When I walk away, I don't want anybody to have to worry about fixing or doing anything, you know, from the
Yeah.
backfill around from where the forms were to making sure the streets pressure washed and clean. Like I want a perfect clean job site when we're done. And
Yeah,
so that's what we're
definitely.
for. And that's why I don't like them because getting them is difficult.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I do think like just the concrete industry, a lot of it has kind of sadly been a little bit commoditized where like people are just coming in and just undercutting like crazy, just underbidding people and just doing
For
like a
sure, dude.
pretty sloppy job and then like they go away and
You
you
have
never
no
hear from them.
idea. Man, sometimes I want to call these guys and be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, are you stupid? You're losing money. Like, just
Yeah.
so you know, you're losing money. I'm not losing money because I'm just going to go find the next job, but you're going to lose money here on this one. Like, I've
Yeah.
had people call me, like, for example, Josh, he was dating this girl who had like an uncle or something. They were putting in a driveway, big driveway, and I gave them a price for it, and they thought that I was like way too high. And they said they got a price from somebody else, and I looked at him. I was like, just so you know, that's what it costs to do this driveway. Just FYI. And they're like, yeah, no, you don't know what you're talking about and whatever. I get a call like I don't know. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks later. They're like, yeah, this costs exactly what you said it was going to cost. And like it was like my quote to a T. And I was
Yeah.
like, see, you know, I was I was right. And I have to imagine that that's got to happen more often than not. And I just don't find out about it because I don't know the people personally, you
Yeah.
know, because those are the prices that we're competing with, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
so it's frustrating. But like I said, you know, you work with good clients, you do good work. It's really all about, you know, having that trust with people, I think, because the trust is what people want. That's what they want, somebody that they can rely on. And so to me, that's all that matters. And anybody else, they're probably not going to last as long.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and then kind of on the homeowner side, do you think there are any like kind of misconceptions that a lot of homeowners have where maybe on price or quality and they kind of think they know what they're talking about, but a lot of the time it's just incorrect?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that they necessarily know what they're talking about, but I think it's that, you know, they'll read over quotes and feel like it's an apples to apples quote when I would say that it's usually not. Like most of the time, if somebody brings me a quote to look over and compare, I mean, I'll be able to pick out 4 or 5 different things. There's been instances where I'm like, yeah, there's really nothing different here, except for maybe like the PSI of the concrete or something minor. But I would just say that it's the base prep. It's the base prep and the reinforcement that is everything in a driveway or for any concrete you're going to pour at your house, you know, especially like a patio, whatever it is, whatever, if your base isn't good, it's not worth pouring, and I don't want to pour it because
Yeah.
there's no reason for me to put my name on it if it's otherwise.
Yeah.
So like I won't sacrifice it. I will not sacrifice the compaction, the gravel, nothing. You know, if somebody wants to forego the mesh to save money, I kind of understand that, and you know, we'll do it. I'll always recommend against it. Some people think that, you know, you can supplement fiber mesh for steel mesh, when I don't think that's the case at all. I think that it's complementary to wire mesh and not supplementary. I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. Also, in a 4-inch slab, I'll generally try not to use like a rebar grid. I don't really
Hmm.
like to use rebar grids unless I'm pouring something 5 inches or better, something that's going to be more structural. The reason for that is I've taken out a lot of garage floors by hand, with jackhammers, or garage or driveways that have that kind of rebar grid in it, and I'll see almost every time the driveway or the garage floor will be cracked right over that stick of rebar, like dead right on
Yeah.
top of it, and then right over where the rebar crosses over the grid. And I don't know exactly what reason that could be. Maybe it's probably a little bit too high in the slab, but I feel like with a 4-inch slab, that's just a little bit harder to control because your room for error is so slim where that depth needs to be for the rebar. And a lot of guys, especially, you're pouring a driveway, you're trying to get it in, especially in the summertime, you're not really paying that close attention to your
Yeah.
chairs, or, if you picked up the rebar a little bit too much. And so I feel like that can cause premature cracking if you're not careful
Yeah,
about where
for
it's
sure.
placed and how it's placed. So I think sticking with the mesh is probably everybody's best and safest bet when you're doing a driveway or residential work, because it's going to do almost the same thing. And if you do have an issue with it, like if you're finishing it and you see it poking out, you can just cut it and then go and fix it. So
Definitely. Yeah, I was gonna ask you as
minor
well.
thing.
Yeah, so if there was a homeowner like that was maybe watching this, like what would you recommend if you had like a few things that you if they're able to get multiple bids or multiple quotes with different kind of services, like what are some main things they should be looking
I mean, I
for
would definitely look at the
comparisons?
contractors' photos on their Facebook or Google page first and foremost, and look at the cleanliness around the work site after it's done. I think that is huge. You can't generally see any finishing errors a lot of the time when you look at pictures. If you can, then it's very obvious and evident that, they probably need some work or some help. If they post before pour pictures, try to look at their prep work, see what kind of reinforcement they're using, what kind of base rock they're using, or if they're using it. Um, those are the kind of things you got to look out for. You got to look at their work and make sure that you know what you're getting, and then also look at those reviews. See how they've serviced their clients in the past. What have they done to either make people happy or rectify a situation that maybe didn't go so well. What is that person's character like? What is the company's character like? Do they have integrity or not? I think that's what homeowners should be looking for before they should be looking at the price, which budgets are important too, and they always should be looking at the budget. But if the contractor you like gives you something that's out of your budget, ask them for options, because usually there's going to be some options there for you to either downgrade something or do something now and then do something else later, and they can help you plan and schedule that so everything
Yeah.
looks consistent and cohesive. I think
Yeah.
there's always an approach, but we always got to be open-minded at the same time. And at the
Yeah.
same time, if somebody came to me with something like that, I would try to do something that's in their best interest, to make
Yeah.
things look consistent and cohesive.
I think sadly, what I've seen a lot is homeowners are a lot of the time like they're kind of hesitant to be like, can you do like this cheaper or this like this a little less expensive and like try to work with the person they want to work with. And so they'll
Hmm.
just go to someone else who's offering them the cheaper price off the bat, so they're not like embarrassing themselves, which is kind of unfortunate.
Well, that's
But
why
yeah,
follow-ups are really important. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like I'm very proactive about my follow-ups. I know who I got to follow up with, and depending on the size of the project, the read that I had on that client, as far as like maybe how ready they were to pursue starting that project, or how big the project was, if I knew they were getting other quotes, or, whatever it was, I would try to read the situation and follow up with them. Maybe it's the next day, maybe it's 2 or 3 days from now, or maybe I let the weekend pass, call them on Monday, whatever it is. But you always got to follow up, because then you can have an opportunity to, number one, you can see what they're thinking, what level they're on, if they're waiting for other contractors or not. Usually they're going to let you know. You tell them, I'm glad you're doing your due diligence. That's what you should be doing. You should be comparing all of us and picking the best. I think that's a good thing for everybody. Um, you just got to be prepared for anything.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's honestly one of the common things we tell our guys is like I would say a large percentage of the jobs come from just diligent follow-ups and just persistence and just keep
It really,
hammering
really
them.
is. Because
Yeah.
people will notice that you're following up, and they'll be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this person wants the job." And I've
Yeah.
had it more than one time. People say, "Well, I'm giving you the job because you've consistently shown interest in the job, and maybe I was a little bit more expensive, but I was definitely the best fit, and I was the most interested and ready to go."
Yeah,
So
definitely. I
that's
mean,
very
yeah, people's lives are busy and it's like I think when you expect that a homeowner is going to get back to you and give you an answer like right away, it's just kind of unrealistic. So, just
Yeah, it
hammering
is
them over.
unrealistic. And there's some cases where, that can happen. You can give a price on the spot. That happens a lot for us when we do like I do a lot of repair work. I'll take the smallest job and I'll take the biggest job. I really don't care about the size. I care about getting compensated for the time. So when we do smaller repair projects, which is mostly going to be brickwork, I do a lot of brick repairs. And so we just have flat rates for that. We have a $650 2-hour rate, a $1,500 4-hour rate, and a $2,500 day rate. And then that can vary, based on the size and scale, but that's kind of where the parameters that I give us. So
Yep,
that way we know where we got to be for timing.
definitely.
But we
Yeah.
do a lot of those.
Yeah, for sure. And then kind of on your kind of project side of things, do you have any like I hate to give you this question, but do you have any like horror stories or like just kind of just really bad projects or bad homeowners you've
Yeah.
worked with and kind of how have you dealt with that?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, everybody's going to have those. I mean, I wouldn't say that I've had bad clients that have given me headaches over things that were overly unreasonable. I mean, you're going to have them here and there, but nothing that's super memorable. I mean, like we've had some bad days where bad things, like shitty stuff has happened on the job, you know, poor, if you're pouring a big job, you lose, you might lose a truck or something
Yeah.
like that. That kind of stuff's happened. Um, but you try to only let it happen once. I would say the worst situation that I've put myself in on a project was actually my own project that I did at my house. And I'm very glad that it happened at my house. And it's really, really embarrassing story for a concrete guy to tell. But um, so, my wife and I wanted to upgrade our patio, got the guys over to the house, got everything ready, and we're driving the Bobcat over everything and, grading it out. My house, I'm on a septic tank and I have like a rough drawing of the plans of the house from when I bought it and moved in. So it shows the tank, but there's no scale on the drawing. So
Oh
I was
no.
just trying to like I was trying to figure it out by like measuring the house and measuring the draw and like get a scale. So I figured it out, or I thought I figured it out, and tried to form everything around where I thought this tank was. So I'm thinking we're good because we're driving the Bobcat over everything. So I'm like, all right, cool. I got enough room on my property that I could just back the truck right down the side of my house. So I'm thinking, all right, great, easy pour. I got 9 yards on the truck. Let's go. We're gonna pour this first half. And I'm backing the truck down the side of the house. And before I could even think, before I just saw the whole left side of the truck plop right into my septic tank.
Oh my
It
God.
just dropped right into the top of it, and it was right in the middle of the slab. And so, I mean, for about like 5 minutes there, we're all just like, well, I'm frantic, man. Like I'm panicking. Like, what? This is my first of all, it's my house. It's a
Yeah.
septic tank, so I know it's going to be some major expenses to fix. And then I got 9 yards of concrete that I just blew, and it's in the truck, and I got to figure out what's going to happen with it and how I'm going to get this truck out of here. So called the plant, told them what the problem was. They sent a bunch of their guys out. They had two rigs come out. One was parallel to it, one was perpendicular. They lifted them out. Before the trucks got there, we got the Bobcat up to the back of it and we unloaded like 4 or 5 yards, brought it to the back of my yard and just spread it out so I could, get rid of it later. Lifted the truck out and moved it so they didn't damage any of like the lines to the tank.
Yeah.
And they got the truck out of there and, I was left with a huge, huge mess. Um,
Oh,
it cost me a bunch of money to fix it. Like the patio, I would have obviously saved a ton of money because I am not a homeowner. I
yeah.
can do it for free. I
Yeah.
ended up paying what I would have charged somebody to do it to get everything fixed. So
Yeah.
that was really embarrassing, and I needed a patio after that. So on top of paying for the septic tank to get fixed, I still needed to redo my patio, and fixing everything ruined my yard. So I had to get all the sod redone. So yeah, just a huge, huge mess. All the other jobs, nothing major. I mean, another one was like, Josh hit a house with a Bobcat one time turning
Oh
around.
my God.
Brand new house, brand new. This
Yeah.
house is coming up for its 1 year inspection within like a month.
Yeah.
And so I had to get a guy in there to go fix everything and fix the drywall and the framework. We were doing this. We did a pretty big job of like 4 or 5 years ago in the wintertime. And I was pulling the last pin on the last board on this set of steps we did. It was like 40 or 50 steps going up this hill. And it was the last pin I pulled on the job. We were about to be done and leave. And I busted a irrigation line that was
Oh
just
no.
gushing water down this hill. And so there was just so much runoff, dirt all over everything. We couldn't get the water to stop. We couldn't find the shutoff valve anywhere on the property for the irrigation. So we're sitting there for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours back and forth to the store trying to figure out how we're going to reconnect this line while it's on. And, we got it to like a light drip and then came back and fixed it the next day. But that was a mess.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just funny stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that happened at your house seems like nothing compared to the other shit.
Yeah.
Um,
No, any issues we've ever had with people or clients, we've always been able to resolve because it's always been minor. And if it's something that we did, we're obviously going to just take care of it, like no problem. So.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then kind of on the topic of like lessons learned as well. Was there anything that you kind of learned from your dad or your grandfather that you kind of still use today?
Yeah, if you can't afford it, don't buy it. If you can't afford it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
Because that's probably been my biggest lesson. I grew really fast. I had a lot of success really fast and really early on. I was always really good with money and managing my money and my of course my clients' money, making sure that we completed their job with their money. Um, and then we tried to grow really fast, just kind of all at once, and made a lot of big investments really fast. And then, you know, my Google page got deleted about
Oh my
2 years
gosh.
ago, and there was like no reason. They didn't give us any reason for it. So we lost a ton of clients, a lot of business from that. And, problems like that, you don't expect to lose a lot of business like that. And that can make it challenging to, pay the bills and get those notes because you don't have the same income. So you got to go figure that out again. And so, that was a big challenge because we lost a ton of business because of that. Also, it was an election year, and I would say every contractor that I know and was talking to was also having a slow year. So that was in 2024.
Yeah.
End of 2024, it started getting really, really slow, and then 25, it kind of slowly picked back up, and then now we're like super busy again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, and just be prepared for anything to happen. You know what I mean? Have expenses for your business to operate without needing to work for maybe, even if it's just a month. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So, you can make sure guys are getting paid and, bills are being taken care of. And, then you're not left with the stress when you have nothing, and
Definitely.
you, I've, I've thankfully never had to do this, but, like sell a tool or sell a piece of equipment or something like that. Like, you don't
Yeah.
want to be in a situation where you're drowning because
Yeah.
you thought you were going to make more money than you did.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So just building like gradually and not kind of just throwing all your chips in.
Yeah, building gradually now and doing everything the right way. Filing your taxes, having an accountant, somebody that knows what they're doing. Like I just have a CPA, and I give them what we need or what he needs for the year, and he'll take care of it for me. And I track everything through the year as we're going through it, and that's
Yeah.
just been the easiest way for me. But try to do things the right way. Just try to do them by the book. Because then God can bless you. You're going to open yourself up for a blessing, and you can receive blessing by putting yourself in the right place to accept it and
Yeah.
manage it. Because if you can't manage it, you're just going to drown yourself with it. And you're going to hurt yourself. So
For sure. Yeah, and then kind of looking forward to the future. Do you have any like specific plans for VIP? I know we kind of talked about you scaling and trying to kind of bring on more guys and scale your operation. Do you have any like big goals?
as far as right now, I think we're back on our feet from all of our slow times in this Google situation that we dealt with. So I would say the short term, we're looking at, just maintaining a consistent and steady workflow and work cycle, making sure everything is running smoothly, all the gears are oiled and greased, and I think we're going to start to take it slow again as far as the growth goes. Just take on as much work as we possibly can and never deny any work. And as the work begins to build, we hire guys on singularly and fill positions that we need as they come. And I don't know what the best way to grow a home service based business is, or what direction where I like to go in, because I on one hand I really like doing commercial work. It's pretty easy. There's a lot less hoops to jump through. I feel like if you're working under if you work under a good general contractor, you go in, you do your job, you do it well, and you leave. There's not a lot of hiccups. There, I know there's not a lot of arguing. I don't want to say there's not a lot of hiccups, but there's
Yeah.
more understanding there. There's a mutual beneficial relationship, that's just really good. I just really like commercial work, but at the same time, residential work is fantastic too, because I like making connections with homeowners, and just having that word of mouth around the community that we're good at what we do. And so yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that I have massive plans. I just think we're not going to stop, and we're just going to continue to grow organically, and I think that's going to be the best thing for us.
Yeah, for sure. And then kind of for the homeowner side of things, where can people kind of find you? I know you preach heavily on Google and your website and referrals, but if
Yeah.
people are in the North Georgia kind of area and want to reach out, how can they find you?
Well, first they can call me 404-807-1978. Our website's great. There's a form there you can fill out and put in all your information. I'll be the first one to reach out to you as soon as I get it usually. Um, Facebook's always a great place to reach out. I'll always get back to you on that. I don't see those as often. I don't really know why, but our portfolio's on there. A lot of our portfolio from when we started up until now. Thumbtack's a great place to look for our reviews. Google's obviously a great place to look for us and our reviews, our portfolio, and to reach out. Um, Email, which is just our company name at gmail.com.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so any final words for the viewers?
Um,
Any pieces of wisdom you got?
I'm your guy. I'm your concrete guy. There's no doubt
Vince is the
about it.
guy. Vince
There's
is
no
the
doubt
guy.
about it. Just give me a call and we'll take care of it. There's not a question in the world. We'll make sure we do a good job.
Awesome. Yeah, so Vince, this has been awesome, man. Really
Yeah,
appreciate you coming on, sharing your story. Um, Guys, if you're in the North Georgia area and need concrete work, masonry work, pretty much anything exterior, go check out Vince and his team at VIP Concrete Masonry. Links in the description. I'll put your phone number, all the contacts.
appreciate it.
Vince, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thanks, Adam. I really appreciate the invitation. It's been cool.